Yeah.
I got one.
Oh, we just need the equation.
All right, so we're just going to go ahead and go through the first 7 from the midterm review. So you guys can turn off, I don't know whose music's on, but it's loud, I can hear it. Please can you turn it off? All right, so I'm just going to go through each one of the equations, or at least one of each type, right? So for the first one, you just had to find the slope and the y-intercept. So remember, the slope is change in y over change in x, so the change in y is going down by 4 each time, right? The change in x is going up by 1. So the slope is just going to be negative 4 over 1, right, or negative 4. So to find your y-intercept, you can work backwards in the table. So you could have went back to 1 and then back to 0, right? You could have worked backwards. So you could have added 4, that would have given you 7, and then added 4 again to get 11. So then your b would be 11, right? So you'd have y equals negative 4x plus 11. You also could have just picked another point and plugged it into slope-intercept form and solved that way. I'll show you that method on the next one. So here they gave you 2 points, and they asked you to find the equation of the line that went through it. So the first thing you have to do is find the slope. So change in y, so negative 4 minus 3 over 3 minus 2, so that's negative 4 over 1, right? Then you can pick either one of those 2 points. So you have 2 options. You can put it into slope-intercept form, right? Plug in your slope and a point and find your b value. Or you can plug it into point slope. So remember, point slope, and all these formulas will be given to you on the exam, but point slope is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x of 1. So you could use either method. So we did that when we were in class. I'm going to use just y equals mx plus b for the first one, so I can show you guys each method to do it. So we found the slope already, so I'm going to plug it in, and then I'm going to plug in one of the points. I'm just going to pick this one since it's my first point. So I'm going to plug in 2 and 3 for my x and y, and plug in the negative 4 for my slope. So we have 3 equals negative 4 times 2 plus b. So that gives me negative 8 plus b equals 3. Add 8 to both sides, right, and you get 11 equals b. So then the equation would just be y equals negative 4. Oh, this was from algebra part 1, I'm sorry. But, well, I guess you just saw the same equation, just solved 2 different ways. I didn't realize that I left this one on there. But it's just the same 2 points or same equation that we did before. So you could have done this method on the last one. All right. So I think this is your next one, right? Number 2. I don't know how I left part 1 on there. I didn't give part 1 a table. They messed them up, so I just left. For some reason, they always mess up the table. So no tables for them. So 2 points. All right. So find your slope. So 9 minus a negative 4, so 5 plus 4 over 8 plus 4. So 13 over 12, right? I'm going to use point slope this time. I'm going to pick this one. It doesn't matter. So this is my x sub 1 and this is y sub 1. Plug it into point slope. So y minus y1. So y minus a negative 4, so it'll be y plus 4 equals m, which is 13/12 times x minus a negative 4, so x plus 4. Right, then you would distribute. So y plus 4 equals 13/2 x. And then 13/2 times 4 would give you, what, 13/3, right? Okay, so plus 13/3. And then we're trying to get to put it in slope-intercept form, so I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So you have y equals 13/12 x plus 13/3 minus 4. So remember, when we're subtracting fractions, we have to have a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply both top and bottom by 3. So it'll give me 12/3. So 13 minus 12 is 1. So your final answer would just be y equals 13/12 x minus 1. Oh, plus 1/3. Yeah, plus 1/3. Right, because you have 13/3 minus 12/3. 1/3. We good with that? Okay. So then these ones is the same thing. So you either can use point slope or slope intercept form and plug it in, right? Y minus your y sub 1, so y minus 7 equals negative 3 halves. Then it'd be times negative 1, then, oh, I was going to plug it in. So, sorry, negative 3 halves and x plus 1. Yep, that's it. Thank you. And then distribute through and solve, right? For C, you find the slope and then do the same thing. So are we good with finding the equation of a line?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so what part are you still confused on?
Wait,
Where's your review?
right here. I was checking his work.
Oh. So do you understand how to find the slope?
Yes.
That part's easy? Okay. So then if the point slope formula is like too cumbersome, you can just plug it into y equals mx plus b. So like I'll do it for this one. So like for this. So if we found the slope first, right? So you have 8 minus 4 over 5 minus 3. So that gives you 4 over 2, 2. Yep. So then you could just use y equals mx plus b, right? And then just plug in the slope. So put that 2 in here. And then just plug this point, just pick one of the points and plug it in for x and y. So then you could just say 4 equals 2 times the x, which is 3, and then plus b, right? And then just finish solving it. So once you finish solving it, yeah. So you get negative 2 equals your b value. And then now you have your slope, which is 2, and your b value is negative 2. So just be y equals negative 2x plus 2. Oh, so positive, I did it backwards, sorry. Your slope is positive, so positive 2x and then minus 2. Does that make sense? So with point slope, if it throws you off trying to plug everything in and do it all at once, then take it into 2 steps. Okay? All right. So it doesn't matter which way you do because it's a multiple choice test, so you can do it either way, right? Okay.
Wait, for B,
Yep.
can you tell me what you got for that?
No?
No, I mean I did it. I just want to make sure I did it.
I can't because I don't have it done in my brain. I can do it though.
Oh, I thought you did it.
There you go. Is that what you got?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. So then let's look at this next one. So the next one says if someone has a total of 27 dimes and nickels in their pocket and they tell you that they have a total value of $2.05, how many of each type of coin do they have in their pocket? It says write a system of equations and then show or explain how you got your answer. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is define your variable. So I'm just going to let n equal nickels and d equal dimes. Right? So they said I have 27 coins in my pocket, and they said the only type of coins I have in there are nickels and dimes. So that means I'm going to have what? N plus d equals 27, right? So I have 27. So I want one equation in terms of the number of coins I have in my pocket. Right? So I can write an equation like that. So then they also told me how much money I have in my pocket. And I know how much a dime and a nickel's worth. So I can write an equation in terms of the cost of the amount of money I have in there. So I know that, I don't know how many nickels the person has, but I know that if I take 0.10 times the, 0.5 times the nickel, right, 0.05 times the nickel, plus 0.10 times the dime, right, 5 cents and 10 cents, that has to equal the total amount of money they have in the pocket, $2.05, right?
Wait, why is it?
So a nickel's worth 5 cents and a dime's worth 10 cents, right? So we know they have $2.05 in their pocket. So since we know the monetary value of the dime and the nickel, we're going to write an equation in terms of that. I don't know how many of these, how many nickels I have, and you have to times it by 5 cents, right? So I know this equation works. All right, so from here we can solve these equations. I've showed you guys 4 different methods to solve systems. We can use elimination, substitution, graphing, or we can use a matrix, right? So before I do that, I'm going to go over different types of scenarios because obviously you're not going to have exactly the same story problem on the test, but there's lots of scenarios that mathematicians can come up with for these types of systems. So, for example, if I was to talk about movie theater tickets. So if you go to the movie theater, so you could have children's tickets and adult tickets, right? So they could do the same type of thing. They could say the movie theater sold 300 tickets last night. So then you could write one equation in terms of the number of tickets they sold. So it's the children's tickets plus adults tickets have to equal 300, right? Then if they told you how much each ticket was worth, then and they told you how much money they brought in, then you'd write an equation based on the amount of money they took in and how much each ticket is worth, right? So there's all kinds of scenarios that you can use this for. So when it comes to the exam, you will have a question like that. You're going to have one in terms of the amount of items they have, right? And then one in terms of monetary value, okay? So for this one, to me, the fastest way to solve this would be to use elimination. I would honestly just multiply this whole first equation by negative 0.10, right? And write it underneath here. So to give me negative 0.10n minus 0.10d equals negative 2.70, right? And then you can combine them together. So negative 0.05n. So a positive and negative will eliminate each other. So the zero pair equals negative 0.65, right? And then if you divide both sides by 0.05, negative 0.05, then you get n equals how many? How many? 13, yes. All right, so now you have 13, they have 13 nickels in their pocket. So if they have 13 nickels in their pocket, then how many dimes do they have? They have 27 total, so they have 13 plus D has to equal 27, right? So then D equals 14. So they have 13 dimes and 13 nickels and 14 dimes. All right.
Wait.
Why? I don't have time to wait. You can go back and watch the video.
Oh, we're recording. I forgot.
All right. So how many months would it take you to pay off $350 cell phone if you bought it and had to pay back at $40 a month? Explain and show your work. On here, you'd have to explain and show work, but on a multiple choice test, the easiest way to do this would just be divide by 40, right? So if you have to show and explain your work and they say, okay, well, write an equation for this scenario, because sometimes for multiple choice tests, that's what they'll do. They'll give you a scenario, and then the first question would be, what is the equation, which equation represents this scenario, right? So the equation that represents the scenario would be y equals negative 40m, right? Because that's what's changing. $40 a month, you're paying them $40 a month, and then you started with $350. Right, so if you want to know when will it be paid off, that means that your y value, you want to know where y is 0, right? And then you could solve it. Right, you would solve for how many months. So subtract 350 for both sides. Divide by the negative 40. And you get 8.75 equals m. So then the answer would be it takes you 9 months to pay it off, because it takes you more than 8 months, right? So 8 would be wrong. Yeah. If 8 3/4 wasn't an option though, right? Then you would pick 9. Yes.
So for that equation, 40x equals 350, and I have to see
40x equals 35t.
350.
T.
No. Wait. So
Okay, say that one more time.
40x equals
40x.
equals 350. 350.
40x equals.
Yeah, it's the same thing. We started off with that. I said we could just divide by. So if you move, so you have 40x equals 350. Well, if you put it in slope-intercept form equation, you have to move it over. That's y equals negative 40x plus 350. It's exactly the same thing I have. Right? Yeah. Yep. So same, you do the same thing. Just yeah, that'll work.
That's how many months.
All right, so here we go. It says if you work at Meyer shuffling carts and they pay you $8 an hour, which linear function would model how much money you'd make during the course of a day? E represents how much money you earn. H is the number of hours you work. So the first one, would you like your manager to figure out your paycheck with the first equation? No, because if you worked 8 hours, you're only going to get $16. Right, so, oh, we don't want to do that, but, all right, so that does not make sense because they're just taking the number of hours you work and they're adding $8 to it. So that's not $8 an hour, right? So, what about this one? Yes, so E equals 8 times H, so yes, if you worked 8 hours, you want them to multiply the number of hours times, yeah, the amount of money you make to get $64, so it is B. Alright, so it says, would a negative number make sense for this scenario? A negative E value? No. Why would it? So is it possible? So is it possible to get a negative E value?
Yeah.
What is it? What would a negative E value mean? I guess I should ask that question. What would negative? So what in this scenario? What would it mean in this scenario if E was negative?
You have no money.
You would be giving Myers money for what? For working there. Yes. So if you had a negative E value, then that means that you would be paying Myers to shuffle their cards. That's what it would mean, right? So you don't want to do that. Okay.
I would like to pay you to work. So no, because why?
What do you mean? We just said why. No.
Could you be paying them?
Yeah. So would you want to pay Myers to work for them?
No.
No. That's why. Okay. So the next one, it says Mary and Jeff Gordon both have jobs at their local basketball park selling programs. So they get paid $10 per game plus 2 or 25 cents for each program they sell. So write an equation that represents the amount that relates the number of programs sold P to their earnings. All right. So that means that your earnings E is going to equal what? Really?
Good afternoon, Lincoln High School. Hannah Arnold and Taya Wright.
Well, I guess that's it for now. I can't pause it.
As in height. Remember that bus seats still being split.
Guess we can talk over it.
Today from 4 to 6.
All right. So how much do they get per program? This. So it'd be 0.25 P, and then plus the $10 for showing up, right? Right.
Attention students. If you ride bus,
So what about the next one? Using your equation, how much money would Mary earn if she sold 23 programs? What would we do with the 23? Yeah, we would just plug it in, right?
that ride is assigned toward weight height when you ride bus seats. Be sure to ride the same bus to and from.
And then if Jeff sold 23 during the game, how many programs did he sell? Where would this go?
That'd be the E.
Yep, that would be the E. So then you'd have 23.75, and that would equal 0.25 P, right, plus 10. So then you would solve that equation.
In October, please stop by the counselor office to pick up your test
All right,
results.
we good with that?
Yeah.
We are holding bus seats at the height. Remember,
All right, you guys are good with this, right? Remember for this one, you just distribute this negative sign, so that should be 3 minus T minus 1. So just make sure that you did not say negative 3T minus 3 when you solve that.
Wait.
For these ones, systems of equations, remember just substitution, elimination, or graphing, or matrix. Right?
And you know what?
All right, and I will stop the recording.
14 minus what?
Let me stop the recording.
28.